Hi, everyone. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a podcast brought to you by Joy's House, presented in partnership with Cardon and Associates. We are so blessed and thrilled that you're here. And Caregiver Crossing is a podcast you should know that was created just for you, the caregiver. I'm Tina McIntosh.
I'm her friend, Terry Stacy.
Each of the 5.6 million Americans with dementia has one or more caregivers struggling to make meaning while watching their loved one's personality vanish. The caregiver is sure to be changed during this process, and not only and there are some wonderful things that come with caregiving too. There are also a myriad of tasks and responsibilities. There is always the soul-searching questions that pop up, and it's things like, do I dare to hope? And who's to blame? What do I do with my anger? Where's God in this? These questions of doubt and guilt, intimacy, depression, and acceptance are ultimately questions of spirit. Terry?
Well, joining us today is someone you know very well. This is Jean Denton, and Jean is a former Joy's House caregiver, an ordained Episcopal priest, and spiritual companion with a background in nursing and public health, and the author of Walking Each Other Home, Spiritual Companionship for Dementia Caregivers. Jean, it's so nice to have you with us. You doing okay?
I'm delighted to be here, and I call myself a Joy's House alumna.
And you are. A nice
That's
round
such
of applause.
Perfect way to say it. And Jean, I know we're going to talk about the fact that you are all of the things and all of the wonderful things in the world. You are one of my favorite people. But let's just sit for a minute. I know we want to talk about your own caregiving journey, but we have to talk about Tom when we do that. Mr. Tom was a guest at Joy's House. And do you remember, I would always say to you, Jean, he is so attractive. And what you would say to me every time?
Well, you tell me, I forget.
It was the cutest thing. I would say, your husband's hot. And you would look at me with this little smirk and you would say, I am one lucky girl.
Amen, sister. I was one lucky girl.
Well, tell us a little bit about your caregiving journey specifically and what that was about for you.
I could go on forever on that, and I know you don't want to hear it, but you can't have time to hear it, maybe. We weren't terribly shocked when Tom was diagnosed because it's so much in his family history, but it was still a super shock. Really, we have to deal with it. And it was long. It was 13 years, and it was younger onset. He was diagnosed at 55. And that's a long road to hoe. That takes a lot of change inside and outside, and quite the journey. I've often said, when people say, well, would you do it again? I'd say, yeah. I'd do it again.
Yeah. And I think, you're the kind of person who probably said that right away. For a lot of people, I think it takes a number of years. And Tom he passed over how many years ago?
11 now.
Wow. 11 years. So imagine my extreme delight when I walk into my office at Joy's House one day, and on my desk is a book, and the book is titled Walking Each Other Home. And it's got a note in it from its author, and that author is you. So why the book? How did that come about?
I don't think you go on a journey like dementia caregiving without needing to figure out what the heck is this all about. I mean, you know the tasks, you get the physical stuff, you're doing. And at some point you say, what is this about? So I journaled during my caregiving, and I had the chance after Tom died to kind of mine that and try to make some sense out of it for myself. I think meaning making is a very human need. So it was for me. But as I worked on the book, I thought, if this can help somebody else, I don't know how many people, but if it can help somebody, I'm gonna stick with this. So I stuck with it, and goodness, there became the book.
And, I want to ask you about writing that book, because it is a journey in itself, writing that book. A roller coaster ride for you as you were doing it?
A long ride for me, even the writing of it, because there were times when I could sit down and write and things came easily. There were times when I needed a huge box of tissues on the desk where I was working. There were times when I had to come away from it because it got to hurt too much. But I don't think we get healed by avoiding the hurt. I think we get healed by looking at the hurt and going through it. You can't go around, you can't go over it or under it. You got to go through it. So it was a healing process for me.
Wow.
I love the way you think.
Me too.
And you you talk about spiritual companioning, and what does that mean? I could make assumptions, but what does that mean when somebody hears that?
Well, it's actually a discipline in this world. Spiritual direction or spiritual companioning is when somebody who has been really trained carefully to listen to someone's story and become a bit of a mirror to them to reflect back, or maybe a polisher of their mirror, getting things a little clearer, engages with someone to do that listening. There's a group called Spiritual Directors International, and they've got a website, and you can find a spiritual director through their sources. In Indiana, there's the Benedict Inn in right there in the city, basically, Beech Grove, and they train people to be spiritual directors, and they have lists of people who can do that. It's a matter of having someone really hear you and maybe reflect back that question, where is God in this? It's not therapy. I mean, it's not you come because you've got a problem that needs fixing. It's not something where you get a medical diagnosis or psychological diagnosis. It's not something where insurances will come and pay. It is a growth experience. It's finding out, as I said, where is God in this? Did I answer your question?
So religion is a part of this, correct? But doesn't matter what type of religion, it sounds like.
A religion could be part of this, and very often is, but it is not a necessary thing. You've heard the phrase, spiritual without religion, and this fits that too. I think being human means we have a spirit. I think it was, I'm losing his name, the Jesuit. Anyway, said that we're not humans. We're not humans on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a human journey.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you're in a religion or not. Teilhard de Chardin, that's the name I was looking for.
Well, now I can understand why you couldn't remember the name. I mean, it wasn't Bob Smith. Like, I get it.
He's very French.
It's very. So I guess I have a question for you. What do you do with somebody who comes in that angry place and, through this spiritual companioning, who would say, like, I just don't believe in God anymore?
I'd say that's where you are. That's an okay place to be. Wherever we are doesn't mean that's where we have always been or that we will always be. But right now, that's where you are. That's fine. I think that's something spiritual companions can do. Take you where you are.
It's so smart, because think about all the times, I'm thinking through my relationships with people in and outside of Joy's house, how much that's come up. And for me, as a Christian, my first instinct is to talk them into finding God in those places, right? To point out where God is showing up and maybe where they're not seeing them. And that's not fair. I mean, that's not fair to people. So what you just said about that's where that person is I think freeing and embracing in a way that my approach would be poor.
Well, we do what we can do at the moment, right? I have a Christian background, obviously, too. And I have learned along the way that if you can't be angry at God and tell God off now and again, what's the relationship really?
Right.
The
True.
Psalms are full of that, shaking fists. And it doesn't mean for those people, they're finished with the relationship. It's that I care enough about this that I'm really going to tell you where I am. We're going to see where it goes.
Yes.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So Jean, you have a webinar, I understand.
I have done some webinar series for a group actually in New York. And we called it Hearts and Hands, and it had to do with dementia caregiving. There were 3 sessions. They're available on my little website, and we're looking at three, I think, big issues. One is, what is caring? You're not alone in caring. What's that about? The next one is looking at grief, because I think it's a most peculiar kind of grief that dementia caregivers experience. And we could go into that, but maybe there's not time right now. And then the third one has to do with hope. We want to have hope, but what's, quote, realistic, unquote, hope? How do you hope when you know that this is a terminal situation? So it was a great joy to be able to do those and share them with people.
Harry is just like sitting in adoration of you right now.
Well, I had the chance to meet Tom and Jean, not long ago. I mean, it felt like it was not long ago.
It was long
hearing
ago,
how long he's been gone. It doesn't seem, the time has gone by so quickly, but you were special, Tom's special too, but there was something very special about you from that moment that we met, in the sense that you have this inner strength that I think I admired so much, what you were dealing with, what you were going through. And I was going through, my mother-in-law was going through dementia the same time I was meeting, that we had first met. Mm-hmm. And I thought that inner strength that you had was incredible. And to see where you are today and knowing what you're doing and how you each day you get up out of bed and you just keep going, and you found things like authoring a book and doing what you're doing, I think is incredible. And you have a lot to teach, I think. I really do. Tina, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not going to let Jean talk yet, because I'm going to say it is inner strength. It's also, Jean has about her, let's talk about Jean like she's not here.
I'm not here.
Yeah.
I am embarrassed. You watch it.
In her presence, I don't know if that's even a thing, but I wouldn't say inner peace. It's like wherever Jean is, she's present. And we could all learn to do that. And I've known Jean for a long time, and it's not to say that those hard times aren't there or weren't there, or that anger or those other things, haven't been a part of this journey as well. But I think when you read her book, The Walking Each Other Home by Jean Denton, when you read the book, you'll see that and feel that, and it will ground you in a way that, there are a lot of books available on caregiving and dementia caregiving. And I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but this one's pretty special. So Jean, anything you'd like to say about yourself before we close?
Right.
Well, I just want to say that about that strength business, it's inside each of us. If we can just access it, if we don't keep being afraid of it or pushing it away. I hope that this book helps people find their own story in their own strength. It's not a memoir. It's not an effort to say, well, do this and that, and then you'll be a happy camper. But it is, think about this question, read this poem, consider where you are in relation to this, and you're going to grow. Yes, that's
so what I hear you saying is that the formula for how to be a wonderful caregiver is in the book. It's written out like a recipe. And if you want it, you go get the book, Walking Each Other Home. That's not actually what she said, but you will find a lot that is very insightful and different perspective on your own journey. And so, Jean, we're just delighted that you're here. We will, I think Joy, our producer, will put a link to the book as well into the description of the podcast. And so we'll get this out, and you're going to have to come back and see us again.
Thank you. It's been a delight being here and reconnecting with you folks. A real joy, because I love Joy's house.
We love you too. So much. So much.
Gosh.
Well, as we close the show, we want to remind you as a listener that you can contact me, Tina McIntosh, at tina@joyshouse.org. We'd love to walk this journey of caregiving with you. If you've got something to shine a light for other caregivers, a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or if you just want more information about any of our guests, you can get a hold of me. And then Terry, if you would give a big shout out to our sponsor here.
Caregiver Crossing, supported by our friends at Cardon and Associates, with 20 communities owned, operated, and managed in the Midwest, and more than 40 years of senior living experience. Cardon and Associates provides residents with the best senior living options and personalized service. Until next time, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will talk to you again next week. Take good care of each other.